So I know this will shock you for somebody who looks as good as this, but I missed my morning workout today. What? Anyway, who feels like doing a morning workout at 2 p.m. on a Sunday afternoon? Not me. So I was thinking there's gotta be some other way to achieve the calorie burn without sweating it out on a machine. So that brings me to option one, chewing my way to weight loss. They say celery is the one food where you burn more calories chewing it than you consume when you swallow. Too bad I don't have a sky-high pile of celery to eat. You gotta make do with it, yeah. Oh, I forgot I hate celery. So for those of you trying to lose weight like me, and who figure that, celery fan or not, chewing green shit that's made mostly of water isn't gonna get you into those skinny jeans. Well, the question for us is, how can we burn more than we take in? Well, obviously, question number one is, what are we taking in? Who the F really knows? Because according to the FDA, it's okay to be way off as a food manufacturer telling you what's in your food. So much so that if they say your frozen dinner is 250 calories and it's actually 300, no biggie. Nope. They can be 20% off in terms of the calories, the sugar, and the fat content. So 0 doesn't necessarily mean 0. Not 0 grams of fat, not 0 calories. Which is why I really appreciated this bottle of flavored sparkling water I found at CVS. Great example of truth in advertising. 0 calories per serving, but a 3-serving bottle will cost you 10 calories. And by the way, 10 calories is not gonna move the needle for me, but I appreciate the truth in advertising. Still, this synthetic shit is gonna kill you. But hey, at least they were honest. This brings me to a segment which I will call You're Being Conned, Taken, Played. So back in the days when I actually went grocery shopping in person, I went looking for olive oil spray. Well, I noticed that there was olive oil spray that was 15 calories per serving, and that there was olive oil spray that was 0 calories per serving. I, of course, chose a 0. Like I said, I need to lose weight. But then I looked, and the 0 calorie per serving bottle had hundreds of servings per bottle. So if CVS can say it's 0 calories per serving when we know it's not really, I was wondering what the hundreds of servings per 5-ounce bottle was possibly covering up. So let's just have a look, shall we? Extra virgin olive oil, organic extra virgin olive oil spray, regular extra virgin olive oil spray, 15 calories per serving each, and a 0 calorie per serving bottle of olive oil spray. Let's start with the real thing. 1 tablespoon, that's 15 milliliters, gets you 120 calories and 14 grams of fat. Awesome, we know what we're dealing with. For the organic and for the regular, 1 serving size, that's 1.8 milliliters, will get you 15 calories. By the way, it's 1.8 milliliters in parentheses. It's a 1-second spray. What are you going to do? Stand on top of your vegetables as you're getting them ready to cook and take out your stopwatch and start timing how long you spray them for? And then tabulate the calories? I don't think so. 1.8 milliliters gets you 15 calories. 15 milliliters gets you 120. When you multiply it out, 1 tablespoon of this is 1 serving of this, and it's 125 calories. So somehow putting this shit in a metal spray container actually increased the calorie count. I have no idea how. So now, you have a stopwatch, you time for 1 second, you have 1 serving here. 470 quarter-second servings are in here, and that gets you 0 calories. These have 1 ingredient, extra virgin olive oil. This has 3. The number 1 ingredient is still extra virgin olive oil. So let's say the other 2 things really are calorie-free. The number 1 thing isn't. 10 calories, 5 zillion. But bringing me back to my original point, I know a way to make this calorie-free, maybe even negative calorie. Watch. So, how do we burn calories and turn a calorie-free thing into something that is really calorie-free or negative calorie? Try catching it on your tongue. I haven't caught anything yet, but I'm burning calories. Woo! Clearly worked up a sweat there on my non-workout. Do I look any thinner? Didn't catch a darn thing on my tongue, so that probably burned some calories. But remember, I didn't really want to work up a sweat, so option 3, probably the best option, is each one of these burns 1 calorie. Think this can get me into a size 6?
Welcome, Tyler Kirk. Thank you for joining us on Doomsday Happy Hour. Your story is very different than most of the people who've come on the show so far, in that you haven't switched fields or started your own business, and you're not in a profession where you give direct advice like a career coach or headhunter. But I thought that the audience could learn a lot from you and take a lot of inspiration from you. And that is because while one would not know this to look at you and to see you in this interview, you're blind. And you are a lawyer, which means that you have to read and go through a tremendous amount of paper documents, or now on the computer, tremendous volume of documents, all while not seeing. Can you tell us a bit, about your background? First of all, you did have sight originally, if I remember correctly, and you started to lose it at around age 8. Can you tell us a little bit about that and what you've had to overcome?
Sure. As you mentioned, I started losing my vision when I was about 8 years old. I was in 3rd grade. I grew up in North Georgia, in the suburbs above Atlanta. And so our public school system, thankfully, had a vision and hearing screening program in place. And so in elementary school, the same year, my brother and I both failed the vision screening test. And that was the first indicator I had that something was wrong.
You said that you and your brother both failed the tests, but it sounds like not for the same reasons.
That's right. And so, but at first, we didn't really know why we failed it. So my mom takes my brother and I to the optometrist to get our eyes checked. And we all fully expected to go in there and leave with a pair of glasses, because like my mom, we probably were nearsighted too. Also, my brother was diagnosed as having just standard nearsightedness, and we went out, got him some frames, and everything was kind of smooth sailing. However, with me, the doctor said that to my mom, in his left eye, I noticed a little bit of glistening. Don't know what that is, but it seems odd. And we were lucky that in Atlanta, there is a great university there called Emory University, and a really prominent researcher in retinal diseases is at Emory University. He finally diagnosed me with what came to be known as a form of Stargardt's disease. For me, that manifested in a gradual loss of vision from the center part of my visual field to the peripheral.
So the opposite of tunnel vision is what you're saying.
Correct. It seems that people lose more vision if it's prepubescent versus later onset Stargardt's, after puberty.
And obviously 8 was prepubescent, so
right.
So you've had tremendous loss of sight.
Correct. I really don't have any functional vision other than on the peripheral. I have light perception, and I can see some gross objects. I say gross object perception because something's there. You don't really know what it is. I usually, have a cane with me whenever I walk somewhere, or I used to have a seeing eye dog. My mobility is impaired by it. And obviously it's a full print disability. I don't read print anymore at all.
What was it like as it got gradually worse and worse? What did it mean for your ability to do well at school? Because obviously you're very bright and you're a lawyer, which meant that which means that, first you have to go through college. First you have to go through high school and everything else. Then you have to go through college. Then you have to take the LSATs to get into law school. And law school is full of reading. And I know technology for sight impaired and blind people has gotten a lot better in the last 10 years, but it couldn't have been as good, anywhere near as good when you started law school as it is now. So what has it been like for academic life and professional life and success in those settings? And also, what has it meant for you in terms of independence and functioning in the world?
There's lots to unpack in that question. Let me try to organize it in a way that makes sense.
Right.
From 8 years old to 24, 25 years old, it was a gradual, slow progression. And I can't say that I specifically noticed as distinctly as turning on or off a light that my vision was going away. And I think the best way to describe how I interpreted my vision loss is that I just got to be really tired, and things became just really exhausting as I fought to stay in the sighted world as much as I could. And as a young kid, you do things that you, as an adult looking back on them, you realize don't make a lot of sense. But it's a whole part of, well, you don't want to be different. In retrospect, I wish I would have embraced the blindness sooner, because I think it would have helped me assimilate myself into a predominantly sighted world a lot faster and a lot easier. But I resisted it, and I tried to, play off not being able to see. But my vision loss, like I said, was gradual, and I just noticed things becoming, very tiresome and exhausting. How I handled it in school with respect to trying to be successful academically was that I initially started using large print and magnifiers. Simultaneously, I was also being taught Braille. I know Braille, I read Braille. I don't read Braille very well. I try to read Braille as much as I can and type it as much as I can now, so I can stay on top of it, because it's a really good tool, not necessarily for long form reading, for contracts and legal documents, but for giving speeches and giving PowerPoint presentations. You want to have a way that you can cue yourself, and knowing Braille is a very good tool. But Braille is even if you are low vision and can see some large print, Braille is a useful tool, like I said, for giving presentations, because you have the confidence of knowing that you have your notes right in front of you, and you don't have to break eye contact with your audience. And the audience really triggers, especially obviously a sighted audience, triggers when their speaker is going side to side and scanning the audience and trying to be engaged.
Right.
So
and speaking of which, you are engaging tremendously. I mean, like, one would not think from my side of the screen here that that you couldn't see. I have to constantly remind myself as I'm engaging with you visually that you can't see me, but it feels to me like you are making eye contact with me, which I assume is relevant to all kinds of social interactions and ultimately also interviewing.
Absolutely, it is. And as with many things in life, blindness and visual impaired people who are visually impaired kind of fall on the spectrum. And I think because I have seen before, I have a point of reference with respect to the significance of seeing objects and seeing people's faces. I personally don't remember what it's like to make eye contact with anybody. The concept of eye contact, that in-person kind of connection you make when someone makes eye contact with you, completely foreign to me. I have no idea what that's like. I don't know what it means. I give my parents a ton of credit. Mom and dad definitely wanted to make sure that I understood what eye contact meant, and that it was a part of sighted human interaction, so that I could try to bridge the gap in certain situations where that would be extremely important.
So you said when we spoke previously that while you didn't change careers, you did change fields of study with the ultimate goal of the end career that you would be in changed as a result of changes in your sight. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yes. So backing up just a few more steps, even back to high school, educators were gently cautioning my parents that high school graduation may not be exactly on time with his peers or with his cohort. He might be 1 year delayed, couple years delayed even, and that there's really no guarantee that college is going to be a success for him either. And that was a narrative that I heard very young, but my parents always instilled in me, you are personally accountable for what you do. And you are going to be successful. You have to overcome that adversity and figure out a way to solve the problems in front of you. We'll do what we can, but ultimately it's up to you. I use that as motivation to go to high school, graduated on time, went to college, studied economics, always loved economics and finance. In grad school, I was first doing the master's in economics, and then it was going to flow right into the doctoral work.
Right.
And in the middle of my last year of master's work, I was realizing that I just cannot see the large print on my screen anymore. So long story short, I just jumped to my advisor, my grad advisor's office, and said, look, I don't know how to adapt this type of curriculum because the way I learned was so different. I was self-taught, and I just could not figure out a way to sustain this program given the amount of vision that I'd lost.
So you were saying that there are some mathematicians that that they can do everything in their heads, but you were not one of them. You were somebody who was getting by with the math, but you weren't going to be able to do up to the 10 zillionth power in your head.
Right. I couldn't figure out a way, and sure, I couldn't figure out a way to adapt the curriculum to an accessible format.
And even if you could adapt the curriculum, how would you adapt life as an economist, honestly?
And see, that was probably, I didn't really think about that at the time. Now, as I kind of think back upon my journey, I realized that was one thing I didn't really think about at the time either, is that I might have been able to adapt a curriculum, but then what type of job was I going to get?
But what made you determine that the law would be an appropriate pivot and also something that you could see yourself doing, for a long period of time?
What I knew at the time was I knew that text could be converted into speech very, very well. And I knew that,
as opposed to the computer having to do math for you because you couldn't see. And
right.
Okay.
And one of the good reasons to choose a field that is very text-based as opposed to numbers-based, at least for me, I was really focused on how can I level the playing field to give myself a competitive edge. And text-to-speech software allows you to increase the rate of speed, so you can increase your speech rate. A lot of blind individuals will read, or I read in quotes. You're really listening, but it's my version of reading. So that's how I use the term read. A lot of visually impaired or blind folks who use text-to-speech software will read by using the text-to-speech software at a rate that is insanely fast. Sometimes when I hear other people talking, it's so slow compared to how I listen to my computer talking. I get a little antsy. Those were the types of intentional thought processes I went through when I was trying to figure out what to do next when I was making the pivot.
So now you interview in law school for your first post-law school job. So tell us a little bit about what it was like to go through the interview process, and then also what it was like, as a starting attorney. You started at the SEC, then you went to one very well-known law firm of thousands to another very large and very prestigious law firm. Now you're general counsel at a private investment fund. And so for people who don't know, general counsel is being like president of the legal department. And so tell us about that trajectory and kind of what some of the obstacles were to, it's got to be hard to even do your groceries. How do you succeed in such a competitive environment where everybody's a type A, they're looking to outshine the next person, and you've got this major deficit.
So I had an idea of where I wanted to end up. I studied economics, I studied finance, and I knew that there was a legal industry that really focused on Wall Street and investing. And so I could parlay my background in my education thus far in economics into hopefully a legal career that was in finance as well. I wasn't dead set on that. I was open-minded enough to know that there's a lot that law school was going to open my eyes to, and that I needed to be able to pivot to something that caught my interest, even if it wasn't finance related. But the finance, I knew I had a strong argument to get a job in an industry. If I did well in law school, I could parlay my background in economics to make a really strong argument to a potential hiring manager that I'm worth the risk, I'm worth a shot. I was going to marshal every asset I knew that would help me get a job, and even if I was interested in some other type of legal field, I wasn't going to preclude myself from pursuing it, but I did know that I had a strong argument for financial law. So I was definitely going to put a lot of eggs in that basket.